I used to be a truck driver. Then I would come home from work, eat junk food, doom scroll on my phone, then go to sleep, and then the exact same thing would start again the next day. That cycle repeated for longer than I wanted to admit. I was broke, and not broke once, but broke over and over and over again. And I went into debt past $10,000 more times than I can ever count. And then I would go up the ladder having multiple 5 figures saved, and then find myself right back in debt, multiple 5 figures deep. And again, like I was stuck on a loop that I couldn't break out of. But that real swing from having real money saved to being deep in debt, and then having money saved again and being in debt again over and over again, wasn't actually about money. It was proof of something a lot bigger that had to change in me first. And I'm not saying this as a motivational speaker. I'm saying it as someone who actually lived both sides of it. Because the thing that actually changed wasn't my income or my trading system alone. It was a belief I had to break first before any of the rest was even possible. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what that limiting belief was, how I broke it, and the identity switch that unlocked everything else after it. So stick around until the end, because the action step I'm going to give you is the exact one that I use that helped me to be where I'm at today. Before I get into it, understand why this actually works. Because it's not just motivational talk. Most people try to change their results first and hope their beliefs catch up eventually. But that's actually backwards. And it's why most people stay stuck for years without even figuring out why. Your brain doesn't take action based on what's actually true about you. It takes action based on what it believes is true about you. So if your belief about yourself hasn't changed, well, your actions won't either, no matter how much willpower you throw at it. You have to install the belief first and let the results follow it, not the other way around. And here's what limiting beliefs actually do to you. They don't feel like beliefs, they feel like facts. You don't think, I'm choosing to believe I can't succeed. You just think, that's not realistic for someone like me, and you never question it again. And that's exactly what makes them so dangerous, because a belief that you know is just a belief and you can question it. But a belief that disguises itself as a fact, well, you never even think to challenge it. You just build your entire life around it without realizing you had a choice. And for me personally, it looked like this. I always knew deep down that I was destined for something bigger, but knowing that and actually acting on it are two complete different things. And for a long time, I stayed stuck in that gap between the two. And a part of what kept me stuck was who was around me. I had family members who flat out did not believe in me. And when I told the people around me I was getting into trading, I heard the same thing over and over and over again. It was gambling, it wasn't going to work, you're wasting your time, you should go to school, you should keep on working, save up your money. And there's the thing about limiting beliefs. They're contagious if you let them be. You have a choice in that moment. You can let someone else's doubt become your own belief about yourself, or you can completely ignore it and decide for yourself what's actually possible. And I have a quote I used to say to myself when those thoughts started creeping in, and it was, "Sky is the view, it's never the limit." Meaning there isn't actually a ceiling above you. That ceiling only exists because you've been told it does. So let me break down the actual shifts that got me out of that cycle, because it was a few specific beliefs I had to consciously replace. So shift one, understand that success is available to almost everyone and not a select few. And I genuinely believe that maybe 5% of people are actually incapable of making it happen for themselves, and everyone else has no real excuse. And that might sound harsh, but the thing about that belief actually does for you, if you believe success is only for a rare, special type of people, well, you've already built yourself an excuse before you even started. And if you believe it's available to basically everyone, well, the only thing left standing between you is you. One thing that also helped me do my switch was understanding that your actions will never outdo your thoughts. So the higher you actually aim in your head, the more impactful your actions become, because your actions are just a reflection of the ceiling you've already set for yourself mentally. Think about how most people actually set their ceiling. They look around at 5 people closest to them, average out what's considered normal, and quietly accept it as the realistic version of their life. Nobody tells you that's what's happening, but it's actually what's happening. And I refuse to do that. I looked at where I was as a truck driver, broke, in debt for God knows how many times that it happened, and I refused to accept that that's the ceiling just because it was reality I was currently living. Reality and ceiling are two different things, and most people are never able to separate them. Shift 2. Switch from a problem mindset to a solution mindset. One of the first books that actually pulled me into entrepreneurship was Rich Dad Poor Dad. And there was one line there that permanently changed my way of thinking. Instead of saying I can't afford it, we'll ask, how can I afford it? And that's not just a wording trick, it's a complete different mental process. One shuts the door immediately and the other one forces your brain to actually look for a solution. And I had this exact limiting belief around investing in my mentors. My first thoughts was, if I spend this money and it doesn't work, well, I've just lost it. But that's the problem mindset that I'm talking about, looking for the reason it might fall before I even started. And I took that mindset and I flipped it to, I'm going to make sure I get the absolute most out of every dollar I spend on this mentorship. It's the same money, same decision, but a complete different outcome because the mindset behind it changed. If I stayed in a problem mindset, well, I genuinely don't think I'll be at where I'm at today. And this applies to way more than money too. Anytime you catch yourself staring at a sentence with, I can't, pause and rephrase it as, how can I? So it's like I can't find time to trade properly becomes, how can I find that time? Let's say I can't afford a proper setup becomes, how can I afford that proper setup? It sounds small, but that one word swap changes whether your brain goes looking for excuses instead of a solution. Shift 3, and this is the one that actually unlocked everything else, is the identity switch. You have to start identifying as the person you want to become before the results actually show up to prove it. Most of the people around me were telling me that trading was gambling and it wasn't going to work. And at that point, I had two options. Let their identity of me become my identity of myself, or build my own identity regardless of what anyone else believes. The way I actually did this was pretty simple. Every single day I wrote down in a notebook the type of person I identified myself as. For example, I'm a disciplined man, I'm a 6-figure capital trader, I go to the gym consistently, I'm a wealthy man, I'm the best trader, I'm a healthy man, etc. Not I will be X, not I'm trying to be X. It's more of a I am this type of person. So I wrote everything in a present tense every single day, whether it felt true yet or not. And if I'm being honest, it felt ridiculous at first. Writing I'm a 6-figure capital trader in a notebook while I was still driving a truck and eating fast food every night felt like pretty much lying to myself. But that discomfort is exactly the point, because it means the old identity is fighting to stay in charge. And here's something important I want you to understand before you start doing this, because it's the reason most people quit after a few days. And that reason is called cognitive dissonance. When you start writing down a new identity, a voice is going to show up in your head telling you that everything you're writing is false. And that voice isn't random, it's actually telling you the truth. It's your subconscious mind and your brain that loves the comfort. New thoughts, new identities, anything unfamiliar, your brain reads it as a threat to its comfort. So it pushes back hard. The most important thing to understand here is that in the moment, your brain doesn't believe what you're writing because you don't have the results yet to prove it. You're not yet fully the person you're claiming to be. And that gap between what you are writing and what feels true is exactly where the resistant voice lives. But if you keep telling yourself these things anyways, despite that voice, you eventually become them and your subconscious thoughts readjust to match the new reality you've been repeating. The discomfort isn't a sign it's not working, it's a sign that the old identity is losing its grip. And you're not writing those lines because they're true yet, you're writing them because you're deciding they're going to be true. And your brain needs the repetition to actually accept the new identity over the old one. One day of writing, it does nothing. 30 days of writing, well, it starts rewiring what feels normal. And from the moment I actually started doing that, everything started to unlock. Not overnight, but consistently. The version of me that was still eating junk food and doom scrolling overnight couldn't coexist with the new identity I was writing down every single day. So one of them had to give. And let me show you what that actually looked like, because The before and after isn't just trading story for me. It's the full picture. Before, I was just a truck driver that was broke, cycling in and out of debt past $10,000 more time than I can count. Stuck in a cycle, work, junk food, doom scrolling, sleep and repeat. And another thing was I was carrying extra weight that I was very proud of. I was at 330 pounds at some point, which was another system of the same stuck cycle. It wasn't the main story though, it was just one more sign of it. And I felt it was destined for me, but I wasn't acting like it. I had people around me who doubted me, including family, telling me that trading was gambling and I was wasting my time. And at that point, I just had a scarcity mindset around investing into myself, worried that spending money on a new mentor meant losing it. And after that shift, the picture looks completely different. I'm in the best financial position of my life right now, no longer bouncing saved money and debt. I'm also down to 255 pounds, still working on it, but I've never been closer to where I'm supposed to be. I invested into my mentors and made sure I extracted everything possible from that investment instead of fearing the loss of it. None of that happened because my strategy suddenly got better or because I found a secret trading setup. It happened because I broke the belief first and then built an identity that matched who I was trying to become before the results caught up to prove it. So here's the actual action step, the exact same one I used. Get a notebook. On the left, write everything that you are doing right now that you shouldn't be doing. And on the left, start writing down your new identity. So if on the left is, I eat junk food, I sleep late, I doom scroll. Well, on the right, you start writing, I'm a healthy man. I go to the gym consistently. I have a healthy sleep schedule, and etc., etc. So write down the version of yourself you're becoming and not the version currently making excuses. And if a limiting belief shows up like not having enough capital or not having the right connection, catch yourself and flip it the same way I did with Rich Dad Poor Dad. Don't ask why you can't, ask how you can. There's always a solution. The only thing that actually keeps you stuck is staying in a victim mindset instead of a solution mindset. Now I know some of you are thinking, easy for you to say, but the people around me don't genuinely believe in me, and that's a real thing that I deal with every day. And listen, man, I understand that completely because I lived it with my own family. And here's what I'd say to that. You don't need everyone around you to believe in you before you're allowed to start. You just need to stop letting their beliefs become your belief about yourself. Those are two complete separate things, and only one of them is actually in your control. Some of you also might be thinking, well, I don't have the capital to invest in myself right now, and so none of that of what you're saying applies to me yet. But that was exactly my belief too. And it was a limiting belief just like every other one on this list. But the thing is that it wasn't a fact. The moment I switched from I can't afford this to how can I afford this, solutions actually started to show up because I wasn't looking for them at all when I was stuck in that problem mindset. And some of you might be thinking, oh, this sounds all nice, but I've tried journaling before and nothing changed. But if that's you, the question is whether you were writing down affirmations you didn't actually believe were possible, or whether you were writing down a specific identity and then acting in a way that made it true one day at a time. Because journaling alone doesn't do anything. It's the combination of the belief and the daily proof you give yourself that actually moves it. So to recap, understand that almost everyone has the capacity to make it. Maybe 5% genuinely don't, and everyone else has no real excuse. Switch from asking why you can't to asking how you can, and identify as the person you're becoming in the present tense before the results show up to prove it's true. This isn't just a trading principle either. I promise you, whatever area of your life feels stuck right now, there's a limiting belief sitting underneath it that you've never actually questioned. You've just accepted it as a fact. So find that belief, flip it the same way I flipped mine, and watch how much of what felt impossible starts becoming available to you. If you like this type of video and find that it helped you overcome a certain situation you're in, leave a like, subscribe. It helps enormously with the algorithm, and I'll see you guys in the next one.